This is cleavage. Cleavage is the way that a mineral breaks when it breaks along flat surfaces. So for example, this mineral, halite, breaks along flat surfaces in 3 directions at about 90 degrees to one another. And you can break it and break it and break it, and it keeps breaking along these nice flat surfaces. So you can have a number of different types of cleavage. Here's cleavage in one direction. And so in that case, it kind of breaks just in that one direction, peels off in thin sheets. Mica minerals tend to have that. Here's 2 directions of cleavage. So there's one direction kind of there, you can see the reflection off of, and another direction there. Now, these 2 sides are parallel, so that's one direction. These 2 sides are parallel, and so that's another direction. That's 2 directions. Halite has 3 directions, so you got 1, 2, 3, and so that's 3 directions of cleavage at 90 degrees to each other, and so that means it's called cubic cleavage. Now here's 3 directions of cleavage not at 90 degrees to each other, and that is called rhombohedral cleavage, and that's typical of calcite and dolomite. You can even have 4 directions of cleavage, exemplified by this mineral here. This is fluorite, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that means it breaks into 8-sided figures here, and that's called octahedral cleavage. You can even have 6 directions of cleavage, as in sphalerite here, so that's a lot of cleavage and pretty hard to demonstrate in a sample here, but believe me, there's a lot of different cleavages in there. So the ways to check for cleavage are to look for these reflections. Cleavage surfaces will reflect light very nicely like that. There's another set right there. And that's the best way to find them, is to look for those reflections. Now sometimes it's not quite as obvious. Here's a mineral, but if you notice, you rotate it around, you will get reflections off of the cleavage surfaces. So that all those little flat parallel surfaces line up and they reflect the light from the room at the same angle. Okay? So this is a mineral that has pretty poor cleavage, but it does have cleavage. So that's what cleavage is.